Hey, Shay here with Method Vans. Check this out. This is our 2025 all-wheel drive Mercedes Sprinter 170 chassis 2500 van that we're currently building out. If you follow our Instagram, we are highlighting or taking our viewers or our clients through what we're calling a build series. So what we're trying to do is, one, highlight what we do at Method Vans in the order in which we do them when we build out a van. But I think importantly, in addition to that, is if you're a DIY, you're a do-it-yourself van builder, this would give you the steps that you would maybe mimic in building out your own van. And along the way, we're releasing obviously some pro builder kind of tips and tricks along the way to give you kind of added benefit or some added bonus in what you're trying to do in your build. So as I mentioned, this is a 2025 model. This is in the Mercedes-Benz blue-gray color. And first and foremost, when we get our vans, every single one of our vans goes to a separate shop that gets fully wrapped in Xpel Stealth. So Stealth by the company Xpel is their matte version of their paint protection film. So we wrap the entire van in Xpel Stealth. The only part we don't do is the very top of the roof. We obviously go up and over the edge of the top roof, but we don't do the very top of the roof. There's no reason to. We put a full roof rack up there. There's no reason to spend any money on a paint protection film on the top of the roof. Outside of that, every surface of the van is completely covered in Xpel Stealth. So step one in our build series is to do the van wrap. We want to do that before we do anything else on the van. As we start attaching things and working on the van, we don't want to be working around those things if we're ever going to be doing a wrap post any sort of installs. So step one, we take it to a third party. We partner with a good third party who's done a number of our vans, and they do great work. You can tell it's stunning. And what I like about the Xpel Stealth is it gives the vans a different look. It changes the OEM color and just kind of makes it really pop in terms of a different look. It makes it more stealthy. It makes it a little more muted, a little more outdoorsy, a little more adventurous. And I think it really fits what we do in our builds. So that is step one. When we get the vans back, then we go from there and we start off on the suspension. So we, for the majority of our vans, have exclusively used the Agile Offroad Ride Improvement Package, the RIP kit. Specifically, we kind of focus on what we call their Pro Kit. And the Pro Kit gives us an upgraded front strut. So we take the factory strut out, we put in a new Bilstein strut. It has the, obviously the front aux shock, so the added shock in the front. We go to and all of the shocks are Fox with the Agile kit. In the rear, we do, the Agile kit comes with a Fox 2.5 rear commercial shock. We put in 6,000 pound leaf sets, full pack leaf sets from Agile into our vans. Our full ultra premium builds are definitely heavy, and so we want to carry that weight successfully. So a full 6,000 pound leaf pack in the back, and we also choose in our vans. These are ultra premium builds. They have a high ticket price, and so our customers demand the best. And one thing that we don't shy on is any sort of safety or functional improvement on the van. And so we also put in the Alcon big brake kit from Agile, or conjunction of Agile with Alcon has co-developed this product. And I would mention that I would say, of all of the vans we've built and all of the customers that have purchased those vans, one of their most predominant features or favorite features in the van in a functional sense is the ability of the Alcon braking kit to soft and controlled, slowing the van down, stopping with just assurance and just not having any concern with taking a 10,000-pound van and bringing it to a nice controlled stop. That's a feeling that you always would like, and the big brake kit definitely does that. Built into the big brake kit is an extra wheel spacer, so we get a bit more stance, we get more stability in the van, we get away from the sway, which is really the intention of the RIP kit. It's a ride improvement package. We want to have less sway, more stability, be able to get through the all-terrain a little bit better. So to complement that, we put on the BF Goodrich all-terrain KO3s, which now have a better load rating than the KO2s did. They got a bit of a tread pattern change. Not significant, but I think the key thing for us is that we're getting a little bit more load rating on those. Obviously, when we do the suspension, we also upgrade the wheels, and we often use Black Rhino, but we have used the Agile wheels as well. So we have a variety of options. With our wheels, we put on the Apex quick deflate valves, so we can do a quick deflate for off-roading. And when we get to some of our other features in the build, we'll talk about what allows us to do the airing up and airing down effectively. So step one, obviously, is the mat wrap, then into step two, which is the full suspension. I'll grab the camera quick and I'll just take you through a quick peek at the suspension and a couple of the other little tweaks that we do in terms of the suspension part. So coming to the forward of the van, we'll see the Agile Offroad, like their auxiliary shock. We've got the coil saver, they call it, which is this Velcro neoprene sleeve that goes over the coilover design on the Bilstein strut. So it keeps it clean and not gumming up. And then taking a nice quick look at the Black Rhino, the wheels with the 275 7017 tire. And then, as I mentioned, we put on the Apex rapid deflate valve. When we do the suspension upgrade, we also do the Mondo kit from Terrawagen, which is taking the factory metal piece off of here, adding on this new piece, which gives us more clearance here. And then we also do some fender trimming in the front end so we don't get any binding and rubbing. And the 275 7017 works very, very well with these builds. The RIP kit does result in about a 2.5-inch lift. Or a 2-inch lift. The all-wheel drives now are a little bit higher than the old 4-wheel drives were, so we're sitting kind of high right now, but this will squat down as we get to a full-weighted van. And just to give you a bit of a side profile, you can kind of see the where we have the tires sticking out a little bit, and that's that widening of stance. We will add on the Terrawagen fender armor, give us a little bit more protection there. But we got a really beefy, great looking van at this point. Wandering around to the back, in the back, you'll see the Fox Commercial 2.5. We also always do the upper and lower reinforcement for the shocks. So they call it, they're double shear shock brackets. We're just getting multiple attachment points versus just the simple single bolt that comes from OEM. And then, of course, looking at the full leaf pack that we have from Agile, which is giving us that 6,000 pounds between the two leaf system. In the rear, we also do a relocation of the rear mud flap. So you'll actually see, as I back up here, if you look at the front spacing between the tire and the fender, and then the rear spacing between the mud flap and the tire, we're sitting with a very nice uniform looking tire in that wheel well space. And that's ultimately what we want. That's the look that we want. If you don't do the rear fender relocation, the rear mud flap relocation by adjusting the rear fender, you end up with a mud flap that's like nearly touching the tire, and it looks really goofy. So if your builder has done that, I mean, they've just cut the corners a little bit and not did. It is a bit of a job. It's not a fun job because you're actually cutting out the body. You're seam sealing it. You're reforming it. You're reattaching the mud flap. There's definitely some work involved, but you can see in the end we end up with just a really good looking finished product. As we go around the back, I'll highlight to you the lower double shear bracket. So you'll see on the bottom of the shock, we have that kind of protection to the bottom of the shock. So we're just getting some extra strength into the base of that shock. It gives it a little bit more rigidity and a little more, protection if we get into some trouble riding over rocks or stumps with that. Just some reinforcement, and this gives you a nice good view of that full leaf pack. When we do the rear suspension, we also always do the Agile Offroad cast iron rear differential guard. It's definitely, in my opinion, the very best option for protecting your rear diff. The diff itself is incredibly strong, but the factory OEM diff guard actually is designed poorly as it hangs down past the diff. And if you tag a rock or a stump, you'll actually open or crease that flimsy pressed metal guard that comes from factory and end up in some trouble as you lose your diff fluid. So this is a nice added feature too. Drain out the diff fluid. It comes with a new seal. Obviously, all the bolts are torqued and spec'd and then paint marked. All of our suspension parts that we adjust are all paint marked and torqued to spec so that our clients know if anything has moved or changed. As we move to the back of the van, we move now into, we do the suspension, and now we start to get into some of the exterior modifications. And we start off with our rear bumper. And in the rear bumper, this is our full steel in-house made rear bumper. And I feel like it complements the lines of the Sprinter beautifully. 3/16 steel. We've got dimple dies for traction. We have our logo, our Method Vans logo cut into that bumper. And then unique to us is we add on these high density polyethylene strips so that if you do end up banging into something with your rear bumper, which is totally possible, a concrete barrier or any sort of parking piece, you'd end up with a dent or minimally kind of damage to the powder coating. And what this does is it takes on impact really well. The bumper itself is strong. This is going to take your impact. You may not even have a mark on here. And if you do, it's pretty insignificant. And the beauty of these is they're replaceable. In probably a minute or less, you can replace one of these strips. You can get those replacement strips from us, and your bumper is back gorgeous. One thing to note, when we powder coat all of our stuff, we use a 3-layer powder coating. So if it's steel, we get a galvanizing primer, and then we do 2 coats of finished powder. And before any powder is placed, we actually do a full abrasion prep. So that's a full sandblast. This isn't a chemical peel or a chemical etch. We do a full proper application and preparation of the material for the powder coating, which for us in Alberta, that's a really important, Alberta, Canada, that's a really important piece for us. This van, we chose to do the Aluminess power bike lift. And, I definitely love the functionality of the Aluminess rack and box. I mean, it doesn't matter what box you use, but in this case, we use the Aluminess box. But the functionality is huge. I would say aesthetics, it's like a 6 out of 10, 7 out of 10. It's a bit bulky. It's a bit kind of clumsy, But I would say overall, you know, they've done a good job. There were some design problems that I wasn't completely happy about, but all in all, we did get it on. We had to do some adjustments in-house to get it to all work. We've got the two one-up bike racks up there, and let me just show you how this all works. So you got to pull the release, and then you can pull the release and then press down. And this all just works off of a Milwaukee battery or a DeWalt battery. Just pressing the button, and then clearly you'll see the arms coming down. There's motors, 2 motors inside here with these bands, and this is all just coming down now as we get it into kind of a loadable height. And once the pressure's off of the bands, it's at its final height. And we're sitting here, you know, I would say pretty much in line with the top of the license plate to give you an idea of where we end up, which would be very possible to just, you know, pop your bikes, even an e-bike at 50 pounds, you can easily get that up there. And then what I do like is that once the bikes do go up, they end up incredibly high on the back of the van, which I think is pretty important to take away debris and damage to the rear of the bikes on the rear of the van. We get a lot of updraft of rocks and gravel and just debris off the road, and having them way up high there, we're kind of minimizing that. So all in all, I mean, I think it's a decent system. And then again, back up, just pressing the button in the up, you'll see the band sort of tighten, and it's going to come up, and it's pretty fast. And I think that they say this is loaded to 150 pounds in the configuration that we have. So most definitely you can get your 2 e-bikes up there without any concern. They've done some pretty robust bracketing into the factory hinges. And you'll hear it click, and that's locked in place now. And so now this is engaged, the safety release. And then we did do their Luminous box, which has a plate on the back with a variety of bow tie anchors and other holes. We did mount an Agency 6 shovel on here with kind of a unique anti-theft device. So this one obviously is easy enough to undo, but this one you can't do unless you've got the right key. And then, the box is pretty standard. It's got 1 shelf. It's got a nice seal. It's a decent box. No different than the majority of them out there. So that's kind of the outside of this van. I'll take you around the passenger side, and we haven't done anything extraordinarily different on the outside of this van, at least on the side. So we hit the front. We do replace out this stainless steel track for a black OEM track. That just hasn't been done yet. We order all our vans with a fixed glass window. We like that because it doesn't rattle, it doesn't make noise, it's fully sealed, it's perfect. We get lots of ventilation in the van through other windows that we add in. So my preference is always to order the vans with the fixed sliding door window. Coming in the front again, looking at the tires and the suspension. And then we kind of end up at the front, which is a fairly big job in terms of doing a van. So let me grab my ladder to kind of hold this up, and then we'll be right back. Okay, so here we are back. As I was saying, after we finish the Xpel Stealth, we then do the suspension. After we've done the suspension, we will often start with some of the rear parts of the doors, the rear doors. There's still our spare tire carrier to go on, and that's not done yet, but that will go on. And then we move to the front of the van. And front of the van's kind of an important piece. There's a lot that goes on at the front of the van, and there's quite a lot of money that can be spent in the front end of the van. And I'll just highlight and go through some of those things with you. So I would say at the core of a front end improvement or an off-road improvement of one of these sprinters is a high quality off-road front bumper. We prefer the CA tuned and we've always installed, every single one of our vans has the CA tuned bumper. They were the first in the game, and they still have, to me, one of the best looking, if not the best looking front bumper in the game. Incredibly well designed, extremely easy install. You don't fight. They've nailed it. And I'll tell you, there's big people, and I don't need to call out names, but there's big manufacturers, and I get their products, and they don't always work. They don't install well. There's a lot of, in-house design changes or things that you have to do, or little gimmicky things sometimes you have to make these things happen and to install. But I'll tell you that the CA Tuned is not like that. It installs really spectacular. This is their new version for the new radar system. So for the 2025 van, they updated the radar a little bit. So this is a bit of a different box and system that they used to have. And there's also an updated bumper design that you don't have to do any cutting. There's no cutting involved. You actually using the tow hook bolt, or the tow hook nut that's kind of inside of the frame. And there's a new bolt that they have machined that attaches the bumper to that as one of the fixing points in addition to all the other fixing points. Regardless, we're looking at the CA Tuned bumper. We bring these in from CA Tuned from Max. We bring them in raw so that we can properly powder coat them for our Canadian winters. Not all manufacturers put the money into powder coating, and it's worth it putting in a high quality job onto a powder coat. This bumper can be $75 to powder coat, or it can be $350. So there's a very big difference in what you're getting when you pay more money. It's not that we're being gouged; it's that there's a different product and a different process and a different amount of attention that's placed into the powder coating. As well, bringing these across from states to Canada. They're on trucks. They never arrive nice. So allowing us to powder coat them here, Max does that, which is wonderful. We can ensure that they're perfect, okay? And inside, the Hammerhead bumper, we have our winch cradle. This is the Warren VR Evo 12S. So this is the 12,000-pound Warren winch. It works perfectly in their cradle. It works perfectly with the van. It's a great option for a good quality, not the highest quality Warren winch that they make, but it's a really good option for these vans. So there's a lot going on here. Part of the CA Tuned bumper is these recovery mounts, or these recovery points. We add on the Warren Epic 3/4 shackles on each side. They give us a bit of an off-road look, and they're also a great option for attaching a soft shackle or a tow rope of some sort to it. In addition to that, we just have our factory roller fair lead here for the Warren winch. This comes with the winch. It's a nice black, which is a nice complement. We take off the Warren hook that comes, which is pretty feeble, and we like the Factor 55 Ultra hooks. This is in their olive drab color. That's going to be the complement color on this van. I think it works really nicely. And then, of course, we've got their Hitch Link 2.0 here as another, soft kind of position for winching and things like that. And then if you're not familiar with the Ultra Hook, it's kind of your open, your closed, your fixed kind of shackle or winch shackle that gives you a lot of flexibility and options for winching. It's got the nice bumpers to come against, so we're not scratching and things like that. And then from there, so it has a nice kind of bottom, which will tie into all of our skid plates, and they're obviously not on yet because that's a later piece. We now move into some lighting, and we usually do Baja Designs, but one of our distributors wanted us to give the Mondo lighting. It's a very high-end lighting that we're giving a try on this van, and so far I got to tell you, I'm incredibly impressed. And there's some really key differences, and I'll bring those out. So this is 1 3/4 tubing. So we use 1 3/4 bracketing to attach the Mondo lighting. These are it's called the Banger series, which is kind of a cool name. And instead of it being a round, we've kind of got a rectangular shape. These are their combo lights, so they're driving. So we have some flood, we have some distance, which is really nice. They are amazingly bright. And there's a couple things that are really great with these. One, they're white in their most vibrant or their largest power draw or their most lumen setting, but they also have an amber option that is for off-road. So again, if you have a low light fog, amber works incredibly well, sometimes a lot better than white. White is great if we've got a nice clear night and we want to see far down the road. Amber, a little bit of a dusky, foggy, low light conditions, amber works really well. And then they actually have a low level amber that we can run as a DOT, as an SAE, as a driving option, which gives a really cool look to the front end of the van. So that is one thing that I do like about these, is that we've got the three options. We've got clear, we've got amber high output, and amber low output, which just is not something that we can do in the Baja design. So I love the Baja designs. We have them on our show van, but I'm really impressed, one, with that functionality. We had to be a bit creative on how we wired it, and I'll show you that. Other thing that I'm really impressed by on these Morimoto banger lights is the finish. The finish is almost an identical match to our powder, and this is our specific powder that we use throughout all of our builds. Everything matches. Everything is powdered in that exact same color. Clearly, we couldn't, powder coat these. They came pre-powder coated, but it's beautiful. What I don't like about the Baja designs is it's a glossier finish, and it quickly stains and marks and looks terrible, even though they're almost brand new. These, on the other hand, I feel are going to stand up a lot better, and so I'm really, really impressed by the finishing. I'll just quickly point out, we obviously change out the Mercedes-Benz emblem in the front to a stealthy black, really tying in all the front end, getting rid of that weird chrome look that has nothing to do with anything else on the van, so we definitely want to get rid of that. Then you'll see when we do the Xpel Stealth, we do a black Xpel Stealth on the hood. It gives it a really nice look. And we often add to our builds the Cascadia solar hood kit to do chassis charging via solar. And so they're black, and the black hood, it all kind of ties together, and it just looks awesome. As you come up to the hood, you'll see we've got our ditch lights or our hood lights. Again, these are the Morimoto banger lights. Exact same idea. They are for driving, so they've got flood on the bottom and they got more spot on the top, so it's a combo light. And again, we use the CA tuned hood mounting brackets, and they're in the same finish, the same powder coating finish. I think it just looks awesome. Those are just one color. They're just clear, and they don't have high, low. That's just one setting, on, off, but they're incredibly bright. As you look, we also do the fog light upgrade, which is the Baja Designs. We choose the amber version of the Baja Design fog light upgrade because we have a lot of clear. Normally, we have obviously our white or our white headlights, our white fog lights, which in the Morimoto, we're lucky that they've got the amber option, which we don't have that necessarily if we do the Baja Designs. So I like having the factory fog lights in amber for those low light conditions. Fog light is to be used in the fog, and in the fog, you don't want a bright white light that's reflecting back at you. So we actually want to use the amber. So the amber works incredibly well in this scenario. As you'll see, everything's clean. There's no really exposed wiring. We have, the bumper has all of the parking sensors in there. So that's all working really good. So now what I'll do is I'll open up the hood and I'll show you some of the things that are going on inside the hood. I already have it unlatched. And first thing that you notice, it's a one-hand operation because we've added on hood struts, and we use the CA tuned hood struts. We've had great success with them, and again, we like to support CA tuned, and everybody makes hood struts, whether you're Owl or you're Agile or you're CA tuned, they all have an option. So it doesn't overly matter. They're all pretty much equivalent. You can't necessarily see it, but you might just be able to peek in there. We have done a horn upgrade. That's our horn upgrade kit. And that's just a plug and play. We sell it on our website. It's an easy upgrade, and almost everything you see is available on our website. But it's an easy upgrade. It's a plug and play. Just got to take off this front valance to get access to that area to do it. And obviously it's nice to do that before we get all the lighting on and all that kind of stuff. So we kind of do it all at once. I'll grab the camera and bring it to the inside of the van to give you an idea of what's going on inside. And first and foremost, when we get to the inside engine bay here, our most important piece is our engine accessory plate. This is probably one of our #1 sellers. We designed this at our very first van. We needed a place to mount all of the things that go into building a front end of a van with exterior lighting and winch control and all that kind of stuff, hood solar, etc. And so this engine accessories plate, again, available on our website, comes in 2 options. This is our new version, which is a black powder coated version, which I think looks amazing. As you kind of look back, it's almost like these pieces are floating, and I really like that look. Whereas on our show van, we didn't have it powder coated. It was an engine compartment, so we thought, oh, it didn't really matter. And it kind of pokes out a little bit. It kind of speaks to you negatively. I don't love that. But in this case, I mean, I think it just looks stunning. You hardly even know that there's a plate underneath all those components. It attaches to the hood positions, to the hood bolts and to the hood hinge bolts. And so it's a very easy install. We give you full instructions for that. And as you can see, we have a lot of attachment points. We attach very specific componentry, but how you want to do it is up to you. So we start off with our heavy duty selector switch from Blue Sea. This is not an intended piece for what we're using it, but it works perfectly for how I want this to happen. Winches should not have permanent DC connection. There is parasitic draws on them. We're not using the winch, we don't have any reason to have it connected. So what I like about this is we have our 1/0 cable coming in from our chassis battery to power the switch. That power then can feed auxiliary, which is all of this stuff. So our bus bars, or primarily our bus bars, which is our auxiliary, or it's a separate feed directly to our winch. So I can power auxiliary, which are the bus bars. I can power the winch specifically, or if I'm in a scenario where I'm going to be winching and I need my exterior lighting and all that kind of stuff, I just simply go to 1 and 2, and now everything is active. There's a heavy selector switch, so I think it's good for 500 amps or something like that. Sorry, it's actually 500 continuous amps, 700 peak. So we got lots of amperage flow possible through that switch. We have some nice 400 amp bus bars here with nice plastic removable covers, which work really, really nicely. And everything's kind of clean and simple. And we have all of our negatives, which then ties into our chassis ground over here. And all of our positives are coming in, which are being fed off of our chassis battery. We put on a battery maintainer, which is really nice. Whether we have the hood solar or not, we still like to always have this. So if we do have AC power where we're going to be plugged into and storing the van, that's the best option. It keeps the battery topped up really great. We set this for AGM for the chassis battery. But if we don't have access to shore power, then the hood solar from Cascadia 4x4 is a perfect option to keep our system charged. So again, the Cascadia would come in tying into the positive negative, and boom, we have our system being charged. We have a small extra amount of space right here. We've designed this purposely for some, in this case, relays. There's always relays with lighting. And so Morimoto has their electronic relay, which is really cool, actually. And then we have a standard relay right here that we actually use for our light bar. The light bar that we use is the Baja Design one, and its draw is just at the capacity of the S-Pod source. It's a 30 amp breaker or fuse in here, and I think it draws like 28.9. And as it heats up, we find that sometimes it'll actually pop that breaker. So we relay it, which means a direct connection to the battery, and we're only triggering it from the S pod. So we don't have any issues with that. And then we put in separate fusing. So what are the things that are connected to our S pod? Well, we have, first and foremost, we have our white lights of our Morimoto bangers. We've got our amber lights of our bangers, and then we have the low beam of the amber, and that's kind of how I've done the wording, low beam of amber. And the way it works is that when you have the amber on, you have to actually have a second trigger that ties into the amber that then tells the relay to tone it down or to have a lower light output. So you have to activate the amber, and then you further activate the low beam to give you the low beam on the amber. And then if you unclick the low beam, you'll be back to full power on the amber. Then we have our Baja Designs light bar here. We have our windshield lights in this case, which is our hood lights or our ditch lights. And then we have our onboard air compressor, which I'll show you here momentarily. So as I step back, you'll see everything is kind of nice and clean, and we just kind of come across the engine bay. Everything is loomed or jacketed nicely and ends up with an incredibly clean install. Having this amount of things connected in your engine compartment is absolutely not possible without some sort of an accessory plate. It's not an expensive piece, but it's a dynamite piece when you are going to outfit your van and build your van. Again, available on our website in black, powder coat, new, or in our original raw aluminum piece. And like I said, most of it gets covered, but I'm pretty impressed now with the black, and I don't know that I'll be going back, they say, to black. As I come over to here, we're going to have our onboard air compressor. So we do the ARB twin. Whether we do brushless or non-brushless, I'm a bit indifferent. I think the new brushless is a little bit better, has a bit of better performance. But end of the day, they're pretty equivalent in terms of overall functionality. We find that the original version worked incredibly well. So we have this is our full Method Van ARB complete compressor kit, which comes with everything that you need to install, right from all the bracketing to the quick valves, to all stainless steel braided lines. Every single piece that you need to do the install is provided in our kit. So we have nice stainless steel bracketing with our obviously these are just our dust caps and our quick connects for our air hose. You get a 25-foot coiled air hose. We have the ARB there. We have our stainless steel lines. Again, pretty simple, and that's all activated via the S-Pod LT. And I'll take you inside real quickly and just show you where we wire that in terms of the build. So this is our engine bay, pretty much complete as you see it, with the exception of we'll probably add the hood solar to this build and kind of make it really off-road capable. So we'll just gently close the hood there, and we'll come around and I'll just quickly pop in and I'll show you where and how we wire the S-Pod controller. So as we're coming in, you'll see we use the cup holder area. It's a great little spot for the S-Pod control pad. We like the LT because these are physical buttons to press versus our digital version, which we do use inside for the interior lighting. But up front, we want a really positive connection when we're pressing on buttons. We don't want it digital, which is sometimes hard to deal with. So we have 6 zones here in the LT. So again, we have our white, our amber, our low beam amber. We got our light bar, our ditch lights, and our ARB compressor. And everything is at the touch of both driver and passenger, which I really like. And it's just super simple and works incredibly well. If you are interested, kind of a pro tip, you can remove the top portion of the cup holder quite easily. You just take a bit of a pry tool. We kind of use a plastic one so it's less damage or a little bit a little bit more forgiving. If you just get kind of under here and kind of do a bit of a pop and then work your way around this little crease in the top part of the cup holders, it'll easily pop off. You got to work it a little bit. It's not terrible. Don't be too scared. The tabs don't break. They seem very robust. And then this whole thing just comes off. And actually there's a cavity right in here that works perfectly to bring your cord up for your your S-Pod connection, which is just a network cable. And we just bring that down in underneath like the pedals and all that, and then through the firewall to the S-Pod. So it works really well. And then when you're done, you just simply push on it and it'll snap back into place. So if you're ever wondering how that comes off, it's actually not that bad. So popping out of the van, you'll see our wiring. This is our wiring for our light bar. Clearly we don't have our roof rack on yet, so we've just brought this in. One thing to be aware of with that accessory plate is you want to make sure that everything that you want to bring through this boot, so inside back there's a boot. You'll see that boot. You need to make sure that everything that you want to bring through that boot is done before this plate goes in, because access to this boot is really challenging once this is all here. So we make sure our network cable's there. We make sure our light bar wiring is there, which is obviously already all tied into here. And then we re-cable tie the boot, and it's finished, done, complete. We're done with it. We don't have to worry about that boot anymore. There are other boots. There's a second boot over here. So you still have an option to come in and out of the firewall for the cab later down the road, now that this one's kind of inaccessible. But just that's another pro tip that you want to make sure that you do. I have made that mistake before where we forgot to bring our light bar wire in there, and then you're basically fighting yourself to get into that boot and to get it through the firewall. But it is possible if you do happen to forget. Anyways, hopefully that gives you a little bit of a full run through of where we are at with our ultra premium 2025 Mercedes Sprinter 2500 van. We only work on 2500 vans, 170 chassis at Method Vans. All of our stuff is designed specifically for that platform, so we don't work on any 144s. So that gives you where we're at, and make sure you follow along on our Instagram page as we continue to highlight our build series and take you through everything on what to expect as we finish up this build. So thanks for joining us, and take care.